Good evening, I'm Dennis Ward. Welcome to APTN National News. It was a sea of orange on Parliament Hill on Tuesday as hundreds gathered for the National Day for Truth and Reconciliation. APTN's Fraser Needham starts us off.
The National Day for Truth and Reconciliation event typically attracts a broad cross-section of people: Indigenous, non-Indigenous, young and old. One of those people was Cody Coyote, who works with youth. He says there's no shortage of things a young person can learn by attending an event like this.
Right, so whatever they might hear today, whether it's a story from speaking with some of the survivors that are here, or maybe the program, my hope is that they're going to carry that with them, and then they're going to share it with the ones that are coming up after them, and that sort of thing.
At the same time, Coyote says with it being a decade since the Truth and Reconciliation Commission released its final report, he worries progress is not moving fast enough.
In order for reconciliation, for that word to have any meaning, there needs to be reconciliation. There needs to be the prioritization of the 94 calls to action from the TRC. If we're looking at things and how many have been implemented since it initially was released, why is it taking so long?
The art of the Anishinaabe territory.
Residential school survivor Richard Ejanaguzi Kistabish was also at the event and was one of the keynote speakers. He says he has been speaking about the legacy of residential schools since he left one in the mid-1960s. But it's only recently that non-Indigenous Canadians have begun to take notice.
At the beginning, I was just me alone doing all these celebrations because I wanted to talk about the issue of residential school and the impact that created in our community. So at the beginning, I have only one person who attend my conference. Today, it's 1 million. It's amazing. This is crazy.
Ejanagusi Kistabush adds the thing about the National Day is you never know who you might have to tell the story to.
Like me this morning, I was wearing this T-shirt, and someone came from Japan, I guess. He looked like a Japanese or a Chinese guy, and he says, "What's the 215 means?" He saw my number, so I have to tell that story.
Governor General Mary Simon and Prime Minister Mark Carney were also keynote speakers at Tuesday's event. Carney says Canada cannot rebuild its economy without Indigenous people as equal partners.
Well, it's vital that we build. It's more important. It is vital how we build. With Indigenous leadership, Indigenous prosperity, Indigenous opportunity. These must be foundational from the start.
I am making, I need you now.
Fraser Needham, APTN National News, Ottawa.
The Executive Director of the National Centre for Truth and Reconciliation gave a powerful speech in Ottawa during the Remembering the Children special broadcast, and it was geared toward denialism. Here's a bit of what Stephanie Scott had to say.
And even as we're climbing, there are still people out there who want to drag us back down, who want to distort and deny the history of residential schools, and we all know this must stop now. Denialism is hate born out of the same racism that led to residential schools in the first place, and that hate cannot hide behind free speech.
Hundreds took to the streets in downtown Montreal to commemorate survivors and those who were lost to the residential school system. Savannah Craig joins us from the march in Montreal.
I'm here for Montreal's annual march for the National Day of Truth and Reconciliation, where more than 300 Montrealers have gathered. The event is organized annually by the Native Women's Shelter of Montreal. I just spoke with the Executive Director of the Native Women's Shelter, who had some words to share with Quebec Premier François Legault.
And they could be here, because that's what reconciliation is. So I think it's actually an insult, to Quebec, that he's choosing to work instead of being here. We heard from different performers, including Traveling Drum,
We also heard from Mohawk elder Kenneth Deere from the Longhouse in Ganawage, who had some words to share with participants.
Yes, it's a sad legacy of what has happened to us. And when we ask ourselves, why is that? Why did we have to experience this? And it comes down to one thing, an attitude of superiority.
I also spoke with Chloe Turtak, who had these words to share to explain her connection to this day.
My grandmother and my mother, for sure, they were in residential schools up north. And myself, I was taken away at birth, and I went through 13 homes before I was 1 year old. And I had a lot of substantial abuse that happened. There are hundreds of thousands of children who never made it home at the hands of the church and the government. And, you know, I come from a line of survivors, and we have to remember that the abuses are still happening today.
Savannah Craig, APTN National News, Montreal.
Thanks, Savannah. In Eskasoni First Nation, the youth and elders honored survivors of residential schools and the importance of saving the Mi'kmaq language. Video journalist Angel Moore reports.
I'm here at the Eskasoni Mi'kmaq Nation, Unama'ki, Mi'kmaq for Cape Breton, where about 50 people walk through the middle of the community to this monument that honors survivors and Rita Joe's poem, I Lost My Talk, which is about how the Shubenacadie Indian Residential School forbid children from speaking Mi'kmaq and the hope that the language will never be lost. That is 15-year-old Chrissy Gould. She speaks fluent Mi'kmaq and represents Eskasoni as the queen of the 2025 Nova Scotia Mi'kmaq Summer Games. She offers advice to the youth.
We need to seek our elders and our people all over Unama'ki to be able to learn the language and understand it so we can pass it down to next generations to come.
Gloria Gould is a survivor. She says today is about never forgetting and protecting the Mi'kmaq language.
Young people should honor their grandparents, make sure they keep on talking the Mi'kmaq language, especially to the younger ones. Never forget that you are Mi'kmaq, and the language is a very, very important thing to remember, to teach, and not to lose that language.
As emotional as the day is, Chrissy says it's important to remember and honor the survivors.
Even it may be hard for our survivors to come out and speak about what they've been through, but it's important to know because it's history. We need to remember what happened and it won't happen again.
This monument was placed here by community members over 10 years ago, and it continues to be a place of reflection and memory for all of them. Angel Moore, APTN National News, Eskasoni, Unama'ki.
Thanks, Angel. Time for a quick break, but there is much more coverage to come here tonight of this 5th annual National Day for Truth and Reconciliation. Stay with us. Welcome back. With the largest urban Indigenous population in the country, Winnipeg's Orange Shirt Day walk sees thousands of people come out in support of residential school survivors. Sav Jonesa was at the city's 5th annual walk and brings us this story through the eyes of a survivor.
While he watches the crowd go by at one of the largest Orange Shirt Day walks in Canada, this residential school survivor is lost for words.
Right now, I can't say nothing because I'm overwhelmed with a compassion.
It's a staggering experience to be part of as thousands of people take over downtown Winnipeg in commemoration of the National Day for Truth and Reconciliation. The 5th annual Orange Shirt Day Healing Walk-in Powwow was held by the Southern Chiefs organization in honor of residential school survivors and their families. The Indian Residential School Settlement Agreement recognized 14 schools in Manitoba, first operating in 1886, with the last one closing in 1988. Elder Lawrence Douglas Corbier says it was one of the hardest experiences of his life.
I went to residential school and it was rough.
It was hard. I was strapped. I was put in the hallway to say I was stupid.
Despite years of healing, Corbier still feels some responsibility for what he went through.
Half of it was my fault because I didn't listen to my parents to go to bed. I stayed up late, and when I went to school, I fell asleep on my desk, which was wrong. I should have went to bed early, like my mom told me.
Those walking in support of survivors like Corbier made their way from a pipe ceremony at the Forks down one of Winnipeg's busiest streets to the RBC Convention Centre for a powwow. Many First Nations leaders in Manitoba attended, including Manitoba Premier Wab Kinew in his regalia. The large space was filled to the brim with people from all walks of life wearing their orange shirts proudly. Powwow dancers, young and old, showed that their culture was not lost despite the genocidal goals of residential school. Corbier says he's grateful that so many people, including non-Indigenous folks, came out to support National Day for Truth and Reconciliation.
I've seen a lot of people. It blesses my heart. Now my compassion and my weeping is gone.
Sab Jones, APTN National News, Winnipeg.
Today in Saskatoon, the second annual Orange Shirt Walk and Run was held to honor residential school survivors and the children who never made it home. The event raised funds for the Orange Shirt Society and for grassroots organizations supporting Indigenous athletes. Runners and walkers took part in a 2.15K, a 5K and 10K route along the South Saskatchewan River, wearing orange t-shirts to honor families affected by residential schools. The Orange Shirt Run began in Edmonton, organized by Anita Cardinal, before being brought to Saskatoon by Althea Greyeyes. Greyeyes, who is undergoing chemotherapy for breast cancer, says it's important to stay connected to nature, be active, and come together as a community. She adds that no matter what people are doing today, they should keep in mind residential school survivors and the children who never returned home.
It's important because the rest of the world needs to know that this is a very significant day. It's not just another federal stat holiday. It's not just a long weekend. It is an actual day of reflection.
The town of Stony Plain, Alberta, about half an hour west of Edmonton, hosted its own large national day for truth and reconciliation. APTN's Chris Stewart was there.
300 seats were not enough at Stony Plains Heritage Park this morning. It was standing room only as the community honored this important day. A wide assortment of ages were here, from infants to elders.
It's a time for our community to come together, to listen, learn, honor, and connect. Over the past several years, we've been gathering as our commitment to truth and reconciliation grows. More and more people are gathering.
Those here heard stories of how residential schools impacted them and their previous generations. 16-year-old Métis Inuit student Frances read her poem on remembering the past.
Today means to me, other than it's my sister's birthday, and so we have that, but it's also a day that we celebrate about my ancestors, about what they did, and of how we can move on from what has happened and allow that to help build us a better future.
And Juno-nominated Ojibwe artist Sterling John and his band performed to the delight of the crowd.
Some of the speeches today about the residential schools and how people were affected by that. When we're sitting there listening, I'm like, "We're All Children" is the song that I need to share on this. That was the first song we did today, and it really speaks about that relationship between children and their parents and the importance of what happened. Back in the day where kids have been ripped apart from their families. So yeah, it's important to be part of the conversation, and we're proud to do it.
The event wrapped up with tea and bannock. Chris Stewart, APTN National News, Stony Plain, Alberta.
Meanwhile, in Calgary, more than 20 different Indigenous groups and other organizations are raising teepee lodges as part of the National Day for Truth and Reconciliation.
Put up their teepees as a reminder that Indigenous people and the community was here before the Mounties arrived.
Calgary is hosting events all day, which include letter writing for reconciliation, plays, and elder storytelling to share Indigenous culture. Time for one last quick break, and then we'll take you to the Every Child Matters walk in Yellowknife. Stick around. Welcome back. Time now for our photo of the day. And with events all across Canada on the National Day for Truth and Reconciliation, Julia Ross was at the Fort White Alive Oasis in Winnipeg, Manitoba, where Jason Parento led a powwow demonstration. If you were out today, send us your photos to share@aptn.ca for the chance to be our next photo of the day. Now let's take a look at tomorrow's weather forecast. Starting on the East Coast, 12 for Fredericton and Charlottetown, 14 for Halifax, 7 for Kuujjuaq, 4 in Nain, 16 in Montreal, 7 for Chibougamau, 15 in Sault Ste. Marie, 17 and sunny for North Bay, sunny and 17 in Thunder Bay, cloudy and 19 for Sioux Lookout, 20 with the sun out in God's Lake, 24 under sunny skies for the Paw, 29 and sunny in Winnipeg, 26 with the sun out in Dauphin. Sun's out and 27 in Regina, 22 under sunny skies in Saskatoon, cloudy and 18 in Meadow Lake, 16 with cloud in Buffalo Narrows. In northern Alberta, sunny and 15 for High Level, cloudy and 10 for Fort Chipewyan. 19 under sunny skies for Edmonton, 20 in Lethbridge. 15 and cloudy for Vancouver, 18 with the sun out for Kamloops. 14 and sunny for Prince George, 11 in Smithers. -3 in Old Crow, 10 for Whitehorse. Cloudy and 10 for Yellowknife, 5 in Norman Wells. -1 with snow in Sax Harbor, flurries and 0 for Paulatuck. 9 in Chesterfield, 10 for Arviat. -1 in Resolute, snow and 3 below in Arctic Bay. Moving to the Northwest Territories now, video journalist Bruce Dela Cruz was able to cover Yellowknife's Every Child Matters March and get the northern perspective on truth and reconciliation.
Hi there. I'm here at the Sambake Park in Yellowknife, where the Every Child Matters March took place, organized by community member Caitlin White-Keys. I was able to sit down with some people to gather their thoughts on the National Day of Truth and Reconciliation this year. These are a few of those conversations. Can you tell us what we just took part in?
We just took part in the march to Sambake Park, just like in remembrance for survivors of residential school and victims of residential school as well.
So I'm from Peter Ballantyne Cree Nation, Treaty 6 territory in northern Saskatchewan. And I'm here today for my grandmother and all of her siblings who went to residential school.
All my ancestors, my grandparents, my mother and father, my siblings, children, grandchildren, all survivors of residential school.
Today, one of the signs that I've painted said 15 out of 94, and that's the progress that the Canadian government has made on the calls to action. It is so important for us to put pressure on the government for them to do the right thing, because without the voices of the people behind them, the government isn't a government.
It's important to show up every day, not just on September 30th. Like I said, Yellowknife is doing a lot of work to recognize us, and it's good to keep in mind that every other day of the year we're still here, we're still surviving, and we're still dealing with that trauma.
Is there anything you'd like to say to all these survivors today?
I want every survivor to know that they matter and that we will continue to show up for them until the actions are fulfilled.
I feel you. Been there. Living it. I hope you come through.
Bruce de la Cruz, APTN National News, Yellowknife.
Thanks, Bruce. A new season of Face to Face is just minutes away. Residential school survivor Jennifer Wood is our guest on the season premiere. We discussed what her hopes are for the National Day for Truth and Reconciliation for non-Indigenous peoples in Canada.
I hope that it means that they'll be empathetic, that they'll have a lot more knowledge, that they'll be appreciative about the legacy of the residential schools, that they'll want to participate in our walks, in our talks, in our events moving forward. I think Canada is looking through a new lens. I think they appreciate Indigenous people far more than ever because of the likes of, the different ministers that are getting into power, ministerial positions, that schools are participating at a larger scale, that non-Native people are really coming forward and walking side by side with us and supporting us.
And you can catch our interview with Jennifer on the season premiere of Face to Face in a little more than 2 minutes from now. That's all the time we have for your APTN National News on this 5th annual National Day for Truth and Reconciliation. There is even more coverage over on our website, aptnnews.ca. I'm Dennis Ward. Marcy McGuitch, thanks for being with us. And thanks to all of the work of the APTN News family today. We'll leave you tonight with some of the sights and sounds from the events in Ottawa and Winnipeg. Have a great night.
My courage, and at times, my anger.
Only unearned shame and great tears of fear. Yahweh, hey, Yahweh, hey, Yah, hey, yo. Way, Yahweh, hey, Yahweh, hey, Yah.
Les pensionnats représente l'architecture d'une politique
envers la réconciliation.
Bury us, but they didn't know we were seeds. Sing it. They tried to bury us, but they didn't know we were seeds. Some
racism that led to residential schools in the first place.
Signals from the air of folk.